Greetings. Welcome to the Cleveland State University How to CSU Viking Academic Podcast. I'm your host, RJ Chavez, first year advisor at CSU, coming to you from the Cleveland State University Podcast Studio. Our podcast will introduce you to fellow CSU advisors to allow you a chance to get to know them, as well as cover topics relating to CSU academics, student life, and of course, advising. Today we'll be spending time getting to know one of my fellow CSU first year advisors, Sueji Weldon. Sueji, welcome to the CSU How to CSU Academic Advising Podcast.
Yeah, thank you for having me here today.
Okay, so just have a few questions for you. I guess first of all, where are you from?
So I was born and raised in northeastern Ohio. I went to Hudson High School and graduated, and then after I went to Kent State University, where I got my bachelor's degree in international relations, and later moved out of the state. I actually lived and taught English in Korea for several years, and then came back and completed my master's at North Carolina State University.
Okay, and what made you initially decide to attend Kent State for your undergraduate degree?
Mostly because it was close to home, and I felt like it was a good option if I needed or wanted to live at home, because I wasn't really sure how I was going to navigate some of the financial aspects of college, and also didn't feel necessarily ready to move so far away. And I actually did end up living at home for 3.5 of the 4 years I went to Kent State, so it was a good choice for me, though I did want to move away, but I think so it was largely financial. That was a big part of it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you just lived one semester at CSU or at Kent State?
I lived on campus for one semester, my first semester there, and then after that moved home. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And like I said, for your major, how did you decide to major international relations?
So I was exploratory when I first started at Kent State, and I, for a long time, wanted to be a teacher. But when I went to college, I wanted to explore my interests a little bit more and see what would be a good fit. And I tried a couple different majors out. I considered nursing, I considered art, I thought about education, and I selected international relations mostly because it was something that was really interesting to me, and I was very interested in understanding the world better. I had considered moving abroad, which I did for a period of time, and I really enjoyed it. And yeah, I really loved my major. And then I also knew that I wanted to do graduate school, and I was exploring either higher ed or law school as an option. And after I graduated, I worked in both of those fields to get some experience and understand what direction I wanted to go for my master's or for continuing education. And based on my experience after grad school, after undergrad, I decided to go to grad school for higher ed.
Okay, and then during your time at Kent, as you're going through those different possible major options, did you work with the advisors there at Kent or the Career Center at all, or was it something you did yourself?
I worked with an advisor. I had an exploratory advisor for a while, and they helped me pick some classes to help me explore my interests. So I took a lot of classes related to my interests in my first year to help me understand which direction, which things I wanted to explore further. It helped me eliminate some options. And then I think networking with people and talking to people who are in those majors also gave me some context that helped inform my decision making. So those are some of the things I did to help me explore my majors. Yeah.
Okay, and then what's some of the obstacles that you faced during your undergraduate time?
Well, picking a major, that was yeah. a challenge.
Yeah.
But I had kind of settled on my major by the end of my first year, so that's something I worked through. Navigating financial aid, even learning how to apply for it. I didn't even realize you had to apply for it every year, so kind of figuring some of those things out, and navigating how to pay for college. I worked while I was in school, so I was working 25 to 30 hours a week, so balancing my work schedule while still prioritizing my academic schedule and finding a job that would allow me to have that flexibility, and finding that right balance, that was something that I had to kind of work through and figure out. And then when I got close to graduation, trying to understand how my degree applies to the workforce, and how to kind of like market my skills and how to just do a job search, things like that. And that's when I started. At that point, I did work with the Career Center to help me understand how to do some of those things. I think those are some of the key learning moments for me in my undergrad.
Yeah. Now, it sounded like you were a very busy person during your undergraduate career. Did you get involved like any student activities or student life?
I tried some things out. I tried some things out related to my major. I definitely I enjoyed like working out and going to the rec, and I was involved with a lot of things that with my friends, but I didn't have a ton of time to get involved in a student leadership position. Some things that I did do were I had a friend that worked at the rec, and she would organize camping trips and things like that through the university. So I would do things like that, but I would say I probably was more focused on being academically involved, and then balancing a social life and working. Yeah, that was a big part of my undergrad.
Okay. Now you talked about you did a study abroad experience.
It wasn't study abroad. I actually lived and taught English abroad after my undergrad. Okay. After I graduated. And I taught English in Korea for like 3 or 4 years. At first I worked with preschoolers, and that was really interesting, but I also learned that it's working with young children. It's a lot of work, very rewarding, but I already had an idea that I wanted to work with college students at that point, so I actually got a job working at an international education center on a college campus in Korea. And that's where I really fell in love and got connected with working with college students and in higher ed.
Okay. And have you worked at any other like higher ed positions other than the one currently at CSU?
Yep. So my first was in the International Education Center in Korea at Chungbuk National University. I also was in residence life while I was in grad school in North Carolina State University, and I worked in kind of like a academic support res life position at Case Western Reserve University before I came to Cleveland State as an academic advisor.
Okay, and I guess kind of like what made you decide to become an academic advisor?
So I think really understanding the impact and believing in the power of education and how it can really transform people's lives. My parents were both the first in their families to graduate from high school, and really were and after they graduated, all of their younger siblings also were able to graduate from high school, and some of them went on for education beyond that. And then my parents always encouraged me to go to college. So for myself, being a first-generation college student, I've really, I think, witnessed the impact that education can have in transforming my life and my family tree, and I really am passionate about helping students work towards their goals and figure some of these things out to help them like build their futures. And so I think my family had a really big influence in helping me develop my passion for education, and I really appreciate the opportunity to help foster that in other people that are looking to pursue their goals.
Yeah. Do you have a sort of like advising philosophy that you use with working with your students?
Yeah, I think that it is about developing a relationship with the student and helping them develop a relationship with me and the university. I think that the transition from high school into college can be, sometimes it's exciting, it can be scary, it can be overwhelming, there's a lot of opportunity, there's so many different emotions and experiences that students can have in such a short period of time. I appreciate the opportunity to be a guide during some of these, during this transition period for students. I would like to be someone that can help them learn how to navigate whether it be a class or the institution, or trying to figure out what's important to them, how do their interests and values align with a degree, and also a source of information. So if they have questions, I can help them hopefully figure out some of the answers to those questions. Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. Next, you've been at CSU for like a little while now. What are some things you like about being here at CSU?
I think that Cleveland State really has an emphasis on student success. They really care about what the students are going through and helping them get to where they want to be, and I think that's really important to me, and I think for everybody that's here, so I really appreciate that. I think that they're really passionate about giving back to Northeastern Ohio, and I think a lot of students can relate to that.
Okay. Now, besides academic advising, I know we'd love to do that all the time, but like, what are some things you like to do for fun away from Cleveland State and advising?
Family is really important to me, so I have I have a son at home. He's a toddler. I love spending time with my family, my dog. I also am really interested in learning more about personal finance. I really enjoy reading, spending time exploring the metro parks. These are and yeah, just getting out there and doing some of the really awesome things there are to do in Cleveland.
Yep. And lastly, I guess, what advice would you give first-year students for them to be successful at CSU?
I think that freshmen learn a lot from their experience, and they go through a lot in their first year. It could be their experience might help them explore their interests more. I think a lot of people learn more about and further develop their time management skills. The pace of classes, it can take a little bit to get used to because it's a lot faster than what students are used to in high school. They're exploring their majors, balancing more adult responsibilities. I think it's really important that students show themselves kindness and give themselves room to experience some of these things and grow. And I think it's really important to help develop your support network. So on campus, that would mean working with an academic advisor, working with a tutor, getting to know the faculty, asking questions, and then also outside of school or at school, it could be talking to family, talking to friends, and making sure that when you're going through your highs and your lows, you have your support network there to celebrate with you and also support you when you're going through challenges. So I think that's really important for students in their first year.
Yeah, well, again, thinking lots of good advice there for current and incoming CSU freshmen. So again, Sueji, thank you for your time and taking the time out of your busy schedule to allow the How to CSU podcast listeners a chance to get to know you better and know more about CSU in the first year advising office. And to all of you podcast listeners out there, I know you have your choice of academic advising podcasts you can listen to. Thank you for choosing our podcast. Please remember to subscribe to our podcast channel to be notified of when upcoming podcasts are available. This is your host, RJ Chavez, signing off from the Cleveland State University Podcast Studio. Enjoy the rest of your day.